Hi everybody, this is Alan Ellman, the Blue Collar Investor, with today's covered call writing question of the day, which comes from Herb. Alan, I heard you speak twice in Plainview, New York, and have been following your covered call method for about 2 years with great success. Thanks. Well, thank you, Herb. Now, I'm interested in cash secured puts and have stumbled across a question. Depending on the stock, the ratio of call ask premiums to put ask premiums is lopsided, sometimes greater than 2 to 1. Why is that? And is there any inference I can draw from that about the stock? Thanks, Herb. Well, Herb, it is important to understand why options are priced the way they do, and you do bring out an excellent point. Because of put-call parity, we would expect for an at-the-money strike, the call premium and the put premium to be the same for the same stock, the same expiration. So, and the same strike, of course. So, let's first evaluate some of the factors that go into premium pricing, and then we'll break it down and make some sense of it. So first, let's talk about the equation that we should all know if we're going to be trading options. The premium consists of intrinsic value plus time value. Now, at-the-money strikes and out-of-the-money strikes are all time value, no intrinsic value component. Let me give you some examples. You buy a stock for $48 and sell the $50 call option. That's out of the money. You buy a stock for $50 and sell the $50 call option. That's at the money. Those premiums are all time value, no intrinsic value component because they're not in the money. Now, if you bought a stock for $56 and sold the $50 call, then the premium would have an intrinsic value component, in that case $6. So the premium would be $6 plus the time value component. So I think you could see that in the money strikes would have a tendency to have higher premiums because of that additional intrinsic value component. Now, the moneyness of strikes, in the money or at the money or out of the money, is inversely related for calls and puts. Let me give you an example. Stock is trading at 32 and we sell the $30 strike. Well, for calls, that $30 strike is in the money. But for puts, that $30 strike is out of the money. So we would expect the premium then for the call strike to be higher than the premium for the put strike. All right, let me talk about another factor that will impact these premiums that comes up relatively frequently, and that's when an ex-dividend date comes up prior to expiration of the contract. Now, ex-dividend date is the date that you must own the shares in order to generate that dividend, to have that dividend generated into your brokerage account. Now, when a dividend is distributed, the price of the stock will decline by the amount of the dividend. So let's say, for example, we're going to get a $1 dividend on a stock trading at $30. Well, on the X date, the price of that stock will drop down by $1 because of the dividend distribution. You know, it may change differently than $1 because of other factors, but it will drop at least $1 because of the dividend. Now, call options will benefit when the price of the stock goes up. So if we know there's an X date prior to expiration, the call option value will decline because the stock will decline by $1. Put options, on the other hand, benefit when the price of the stock declines. So the value of the put option then will increase. So an ex-dividend date means that call options will be worth less and put options will be worth more. And so if the strike price was at the money for the same stock and the same expiration, we would expect put premiums to be higher than call premiums. Now let's have a look at an options chain for Taser, ticker TASR, which at the time I generated this screenshot was trading at 30.90. Now 30.90 is very close to $31 strike. That would be considered at the money. Now we would expect the premiums to be pretty close together. And where you see the arrows towards the bottom of the screenshot, you could see that we have a premium of 185 actually on both the call and the put premium. And that makes sense because it's an at the money strike, so the moneyness is pretty similar on both calls and puts. It's a near the money, almost at the money strike in both cases. Now, if you look at the arrows above that, you could see the bid columns for the call is 240 and for the put is 145. Well, and that's for the $30 strike. So why are they so different? Well, the $30 strike is in the money by 90 cents for the call option. So it has an intrinsic value component of 90 cents. Now, the put premium for the $30 call is out of the money. It's time value only. There is no intrinsic value component. So if we deducted the 90 cents from the 240 on the call column, it would come down to 150, which is pretty darn close to the 145 in the put column. So here the moneyness of the option definitely explains the difference in the premiums. The in the money strike had that intrinsic value component for the calls, and therefore the calls had the much higher premium. So let's summarize this now. Option premiums are greatly impacted by the moneyness of an option. In the money strikes have an intrinsic value component that out of the money and at the money strikes do not have, so we would expect those premiums to be higher. Dividend dates, ex-dividend dates in particular, can also impact premiums by making call premiums lower because the price of the stock is going to drop by the dividend amount, and put premiums higher because puts benefit as the price of the stock declines. So that would explain why you might see a discrepancy for at-the-money strikes between puts and calls, making call premiums higher. So, Herb, I want to thank you for that question very much because it is important to understand. I'll bet that many of our members have looked quizzically at options chains trying to figure out why an at-the-money strike has a different call and put premium. And that might have to do with the next dividend date. And then out of the money and in the money being different because of the moneyness of the strike. So very, very valuable question, Herb. Thank you for that. And of course, thanks to everybody out there for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And more importantly, I hope you benefit from it. As always, this is Alan Ellman, the Blue Collar Investor. Take care, everybody.